Let me now stretch your mind. Okay. Suppose, so I have two quantities. I have two quantities. And x bar. Yeah. And which I said gets closer and closer to the expected value of x as n becomes larger and larger and larger. Right. I have sigma square in n is here. What's there on top is different, but it's a different average. That's all. Right? Okay, so if I take the average weights of boys in this room and the average weight of girls in this room, what's being added are different things, but I still have averages. Okay, fine. So this will also converge to something which is an average. It obviously not converge to expected value of x. Converge to something. What would it converge to? Expression. Expression value of yeah, but what would be the expected variance of x mean? Just like the sample mean gets closer and closer to the population mean. Population mean is a fixed value. The sample mean is get closer to the population variance. So, population mean को अगर ऐसे लिखते हैं, तो population variance को कैसे लिखेंगे? Expected term में कुछ होगा ना? So, think. How will you think? Yeah, guys at the end. Please, sure, absolutely. Even I'm not very sure. Yeah. She's saying something useful. Can you help her develop this? She's saying expect value of x minus expected x, something of that kind. Can you help her out? She's saying something important. Lovely. So it will be x minus expected x whole square is the average. So what is it? The average of the square deviations from the mean. X minus expected x will be the square deviation. A square. Right? And then the average of that. So expected value. Alright? Alright? If you now throw us algebra, and this is my lifelong, I don't know, this is something which people should study. You know? Whatever maths you've done, you always forget large chunks of that. But two things you never forget. People never forget a plus b square and a minus b square. What is a minus b square? Minus 2ab plus b square, and this is deeply ingrained, right? Any other maths you forget. Yeah, but this you never forget. I don't know why. Okay. So now you place in that side. So this is a and b. Right? And it's a square. Sure? Okay. So I now must open that. Okay. So what do? This becomes expected value of x square minus 2x expected value of x, correct, plus expected value of x square. Right? Oh. Now we have come into a territory which is unknown to us. Why? Because we know how to find expectation of x, but we do not know how to find the expectation of x plus y or expectation of x minus y. We have to find the expectation of something plus minus something, right? Okay? So let's now take a few steps in that direction. Is it clear? We want to solve this further. Okay? So first property of expected operator is expectation of say x1 plus x2 is expectation of x1 plus expectation of x2. I'll not go into the math of that, right? But it's later on I'll be able to prove to you about properties of limits and all those kind of things. Probability limit a plus b, the probability limit a plus the probability limit b, and all those kind of things. But I'm not going to go into this at the moment. I just want you to know this. Expectation of x1 plus x2 is expectation of x1 plus expectation of x2. Right? Okay. So by using that logic, and similarly, expectation of x1 minus x2 is expectation of x1 minus expectation of x2. I can give you some intuitive understanding of this. For example, the average of a sum is nothing but the, so we are summing x1 and x2 and taking an average. That is the same as taking the average of x1 and taking the average of x2 and adding them. This is what it intuitively means. If you sum some numbers and then average them, then that is equivalent to averaging them and summing. So for example, if you add your 10 standard and 12 standard marks and take an average, then that will be the average of the marks you got in the 10 standard plus the average of the marks you got in 12 standard. Right? That's the kind of the thing that's happening here. Okay. Right. Now, so using this, this becomes, this expression will become minus and jumping. Yeah? Expectation, right? Now this is fine. Now here, what we have is something interesting. Okay, what we have is something interesting. Think of, so another property of expectation operator is expectation of alpha x is alpha expectation of x. That is, if you multiply for x by some constant and take an average, then the average will simply be the original average multiplied by the constant. So if you first multiply each number by a constant and then take an average, that average will be no different from first calculating the average and then multiplying by that constant. Yeah? So expectation of alpha x is equal to alpha expectation of x. Expectation of alpha x is the same thing as alpha expectation of x. Right. So using this becomes, now mind me, there are two constants here. Expectation of x, I said, is a constant. It's a fixed number, no? Like when I rolled the die, it was 3.5. So therefore this constant and this constant will come out of the bracket. So what will in fact come out of the bracket is, and what will remain is expectation of x here. So this expectation of x will come out of the bracket, this will come out of the bracket. So what will remain here is expectation of x. Sure? Plus, again, expectation of x square is a constant. If expectation of x is a constant, x square is a constant. So the average value of that will just be that constant. Right? So if I now simplify this becomes minus 2 so it becomes expectation of x square minus expectation x whole square, that is sigma square. Now if you remember, in your college they might sometimes have told you to find the variance, you do this. Did you ever use this formula to find the variance in college? Yeah? You did. Now you see the similarity. This is nothing but the average value of x square. Expectation x square. This is nothing but the square of the expectation. It is this. Right? So the formula that we use actually can be derived logically. See, what we're going to do in this class is derive all formulae from the bottoms up. So we understand what those formulae are. Okay? If you learn statistics formulaically, by just mugging up formulae and applying them, then you forget them very fast. You forget them very, very fast. To tell you how fast you forget, I interviewed about 20 engineers on Sunday. All of them were engineers, okay, for a computer-based course, right? And they were engineers for 10 years or so, 12 years. They stopped studying after their 12th standard. They're all middle-level kind of professionals. Out of 20, just one could tell me the derivative of y is equal to x squared. Just one. Yeah, and nobody could tell me the determinant of the matrix. Nobody. So why had that happened? There was somebody from the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research who was also interviewing these candidates along with me, and I was wondering why would this happen, because I thought y is equal to x squared with derivative of 2x is something which would internalize, right? But no, it's just that people learn that thing so formulaically as a formula, nx raised to n minus 1, etc. Without understanding how the formula built up, they will quickly forget that. Right? So they are not going to learn statistics from the bottom, from this formula kind of thing. We are going to learn statistics logically as a way of developing our own formulae and understanding those formulae intuitively. Right? If you have studied all these from those S.P. Guptas and Das Guptas and Guru Guptas, then you will have to forget about them. Because whatever the Gupta Empire might have done to the Indian history, it has harmed Indian statistics very much. so I think we will forget the Gupta Empire and try to learn statistics from the Exponent is always a constant because it's a fixed value. No? So for example, when you roll the die, what is the expected value? 3.5. When we rolled a when we tossed 2 coins, the expected was necessarily 0 if we thought it was plus 1 minus 1. If a different experiment, the expected value will always be a fixed number. Yeah? Sure? Right? So is this clear? We got the so now, how much more time do we have? So let me give you some sums to solve. Okay. Suppose I have my simple rolling, my simple tossing a coin experiment, where you get plus 1 minus 1. Okay? And probabilities of x are equal to say a random variable. You have to tell me what is the expected value of x, what is the variance of x. What is the expected value of x? 0. Right? Why is it 0? Because plus 1 into 0.5 0.5 minus 1. How will you find the mean of x is 0? How will you find the variance of x? So first you must find x squared. Because you have to find the expected value of x squared. Right? What would that be? 1, 1. So what is the expected value of x squared? 1 into 0.5. Yeah? Now how to get the variance? Expected value of x squared Yeah? 1 minus 0, 1. Right? Okay? Fine. So now suppose I've been playing this game with you. and you like to play this game. So I said, now let's make this game, let's raise the stakes. Let's make it a game which is more dangerous. You don't mind losing 1 rupee, getting 1 rupee. It's a game which you can play without much worry. I now say, I want to change the stakes to -1, -10, +10. So if it's heads, you give it 10 rupees. Minus, if you lose, then you give it, you lose 10 rupees. So the stakes have now gone up 10 folds. What do you think will happen to the mean and the variance? What do you think will happen to the mean and the variance? What will the mean? So let's find out what is expected value of x. Expected value of x is z. What would be the way? So the mean has not changed. What will happen to the variance? What will happen to the variance? Can you tell me what will be the variance? What will be x square now? Yeah? Yeah? 100 and 100. So what will be the expected value of x square? Yeah? So what is the variance? What is the variance now? 100. Right? 100. The variance is 100. Because sigma square x now is expected value of x square the variance has gone up by 10 times. I raised the stakes by 10, the variance has gone up by 100 times. Right? So what it says is, if I multiply each value of a random variable by alpha, the mean will actually get multiplied by alpha, but in this case it was 0, so it remains 0. But the variance will get to go up by alpha square. Can you give me a simple reason why this is happening? Can you give me a simple reason? Yeah. Absolutely. So because what you're doing is very funny. What you're doing is summation. This is it, no? See, each gap went up 10 times, right? Each value of the random variable went up by alpha, right? So what really happened is this whole gap went up by alpha. And it was squared. It was squared, so the sum goes up by alpha squared. Right? Now therefore the first important lesson that we got about the variance is the variance of a random variable is not invariant to the scale of measurement. If you change the scale of measurement, the variance will change by alpha square. Sometimes you represent the variance of a random variable by square root on the variance. Right? So sometimes instead of doing this, you write this. This is called the standard deviation of x. So if the variance of x goes up by alpha square, the standard deviation will go up by alpha, the square. Right? If you want to see it more formally, let me just take you through that. So I am multiplying each value of x by alpha. So I get summation of alpha xi, because each value is multiplied by alpha. The mean also gets multiplied by alpha x bar by n. Right? Which is what? Which is summation of alpha whole square by n. Yeah? Which is the same thing as summation, which is the same thing as yeah? Right? So you see why the variance goes up by alpha square if each value of x goes up by alpha, and if I take a square root of this, then obviously this will become like this. Right? Alpha. Sure? So the standard deviation will go by alpha. Is this clear? Right? So if you multiply a series of random variables, by alpha, the mean will go by alpha and the variance will go by alpha square. So neither the mean nor the variance are invariant to the scale of measurement. Clear? Everybody understands the meaning of the random. So what are the learning lessons for today? First, I want you to understand the idea of a random variable as an estimator. The sample mean as a random variable, it's an estimator of the population mean. The population mean is the expected value of x. The law of large numbers says that x bar is a consistent estimator of the population mean. When the sample size becomes large, x bar gets closer and closer to the mean. X bar is not the only mean that we can have. The variance is in fact also mean. In college they teach us mean and central tendency, two different things, central tendency and variance, but they aren't really. Both of them are means, right? What's different there is the numerator is different, but if you add something by some n quantity and divide by n, it's an average by definition. So we have the graph, right? Okay, so we have the sample mean, we have the population mean, we have the sample variance and the population variance. The sample variance is an estimator, is a consistent estimator of the population variance, and so on, right? And the formula for the population variance is given by expectation of x square minus expectation of x the whole square. Okay? Now I want you to ponder over something at home. I have said that x bar has the property that its distance from all the set of numbers of which is the mean is as small as possible. So no other number has a distance, has the property that the sum of all its distance of all other numbers in the collection is as small as x bar. Right? The variance is also a mean. The variance is also a mean. It has a mean, it must also minimize the distance from something. Right? Think of what that would be. Okay, think of what that would be. Okay, I'll see you in the next class. Thank you very much for being patient. And my apologies for shifting the class to 3 to 5. They're supposed to have a meeting in the morning today. Fortunately, somebody fell ill and the meeting was postponed. Right, so I'm here. Right, and in the future, when we reschedule classes, I've asked somebody in the office to immediately WhatsApp the notices to you, so you will get to know changes in timetable immediately as they happen. Right? So thank you very much, folks.